This T2B, N.O.vate. It's a story time with N.O.vate, and this is actually a story time that covers different cities and just about how things kind of evolve in these streets that we be running in, and how it's not worth it actually doing it anymore. When I do my story times, man, I never do a story time to be like, yo, I've been through this in my life. Usually I have to defend it and it comes across like that. But if you go through my channel, most of my story times are to tell people how to come to God, like how I came to God. That's the whole premise of me doing that. It's not to have these stories about my life that doesn't give glory to God, like that boo video or whatever crap that was. That was just in response to something within our culture. We battle rappers, but as far as my channel and as far as the new subscribers, my story times be stories about Detroit that I slowly tell. Um, that's the main premise of it, is to share myself sober. Well, the main premise of it is to give glory to God, and that's for the world. That's why I call myself T2B, the Take Back BRC. That's when I say I have a message to the world. But as N.O.vate, sometimes I respond to things within the culture also. And the premise of me doing a video for that is just to share myself sober. Because I really don't cam up on lies when I'm sober. I'll say a few words and I'll be out like, all right, I'll holler at. But when I'm drunk, I'll be there all day just acting crazy. And after doing that for 3 years, you can't help people to be like, yeah, that's who he is. So I come on my channel, like, for the people that really support me, at least they know, like, yeah, I rock with him. He be, you know. But that's why I tell my story times. And I was actually a kid that saw the drug game evolve. I saw it happen. They did it in Detroit and New York. Um, Sometimes I say, how sometimes people say we're in slavery, like young black men are in a slave mentality. I'm totally against that ideal. We are not in a slave mentality at all. We are just under a different type of form of slavery. There were just different. We didn't just come out of slavery like, okay, let's sell drugs, let's kill each other. No, we came out of slavery like, let's start organizations to stick together. That's we wore suits, we wore dive suits, we stuck together. We didn't kill each other when we came out of slavery. We went years in the 60s and the 50s and before we evolutionized into this drug era. We went years as we were studious people. We didn't come out of slavery in the conditions that we are in now. So we can't say we are in a slave mentality if we didn't come out of slavery with this mentality. This mentality was reintroduced and re-implemented upon us through the systematic way they laid the chains down, they laid the drugs down, the way they did it. If you still alive, if you ain't in jail, if you still alive and you from my day and you was in the circles that I was in, like I saw everything. Like I knew Wayne. I knew the guy Wayne from New York. I remember he used to come to New York. When he came to Detroit, He'll be dressed in suits, like a businessman. I knew him. I knew High Supreme from Queens. Um, even though I wasn't getting nowhere near money, but it was just the circle I was in, the people I was with, the friends that I had, the friends that I grew up with. I was a knucklehead that kept getting in trouble, going to jail. But that's the thing, isn't to glorify me or the streets. It's just to show how the enemy works in this instance. And I saw how they did it, man. I saw, like I don't want to say, as far as knowledge, I was fortunate enough. But as far as like, I don't glorify that stuff. Ain't nothing fortunate about knowing someone, but just to be able to see what happened, just to be able to put it together and just to later in my life be like, oh, I'm not doing that no more. Like they laid down chains. Like that's a systematic. That drug system is a system that's set up to fail. Out of 10 of us, it's probably two that made it or something like that, and there's probably one that still got what he came out of it with. And I'm probably the one that don't have that still made it out of our crew. And it's a few of us, it's a few of us. But I was gonna say I'm probably one that, but anyway. So I was able to see, like, my boy's brother was like, y'all Frank Lucas. I was able to see the generation even before me. I was able to see the generations operating that was in the 60s. And that allowed me to see the people that the law enforcement went after. And they did it in New York first. In New York, they went after before they put the crack in the streets in the 70s, they did it, they gave it to the person that was the strongest heroin dealer. And they didn't just give it to him. They put him in an improvised. What they did is they went to the strongest heroin dealer and they went to the person right under him. They made that person an informant, and then they put crack in the streets through those heroin dealers. So the person that had the strongest influence in the heroin game before the crack came out, they got them. In Detroit, it was probably, of course, it was Nicky Barnes, and before him, it was Frank Lucas. On the west side, it was these people, and it was my boy's brother. It was some Arab people. It was something I didn't even know, but it was my boy's brother. On the east side, it was niggas like the Chambers brothers, and it was the white boy Rick, the one that they got, and they got him to flood the crack through the east side. But they always went to them heroin niggas, and then they picked him, and then they turned one of them, and they made an informant. Like white boy Rick is the one, and it wasn't just him. They was turning them. I don't think they could turn west side. So the west side, the people on the west side, we were smart. People on the east side, they were more poor of Detroit, and the east side would come, and they would. And that was kind of the thing. Like, yeah, we got the money. East side niggas try to come take it. We already knew. We didn't even go over there, and we knew if we seen them over here what they was looking for. But the point is that the feds in the system, I'm just gonna say, they put the crack in the streets through the heroin dealers, and then they kind of introduced it to these younger niggas like selling crack. We ain't even know what it was, bro. I remember I was dealing with the coke, man, when we didn't even know what it was, man. We used to sit up in the spot. We was 12 years old, 11 years old, me and my boy, sitting up in the watching his brother, sitting up in the spot. And I'm not shaming him or us. I'm saying we just learned, and this is why we still alive through the stuff that we went through. We sitting there 12 years old with baby bottles, man, with foil paper wrapped around the baby bottle on the hot plate, cooking it like that. That it was that long ago to where we had these sheets, and they was called Sillamil sheets. And you had to cut each sheet, then you had to iron each rock. It took like 4 hours just you be in there like a laboratory, and we kids, and we got a line of men and women going. We was on Wisconsin and on Belton. We had a line going all the way down to Normal sometime, and we 12 years old. We came out that place, the feds jumped out the bushes on us. Like, these are kids. I ended up doing 6 years doing that crap. At 13 years old, they made me a ward of the state. They wouldn't even release me after they were like, how are these young kids doing that? And I was kind of the leader. And then when I got out as a teenager, he was the rich one, but I was the one that was the lead. I was the one that was doing it. Like, I was the one that sold all my stuff, and I had my money. We came out the door. He was like, hold this, G Money. I was G Money at 13. He was like, hold this, G Money. And he saw them, and I didn't. And when I grabbed it, I went to jail for 6 years. I come out, he rich, and I'm his flunky. But that's how life works. And I'm gonna give another message. But I loved him. I still talk to his family. There's sometimes the streets, people you love, the people you close to you hurt you the most. But the point is that they gave the stuff through the heroin dealers, then they gave it to the crack dealers, and we didn't know what it was, man. I remember that first generation of crackheads, bro. Like, first generation of crackheads was like 82, 83 on the dot, bro. I was 10 years old. I was bad, man. I used to run away from the crib, 10 years old. Jump out the window, run away from the crib for 3 hours, 11 years old. For 3 weeks. My mother used to hunt me down and find me, bro. She kicked in the door to one of them crack houses on Schoolcraft before. I burnt the whole place down. I was burning houses down at 10 years old. When the people in there pissed me off, I was bad as hell. But the point is that the crackheads didn't know what it was, man. It was a generation to where the women were beautiful, bro. And we 13, 12, and they husbands like here, and me and my boy in the room, and it's probably four of us. Me, I say names because this is just my story, my life. Me, Ernie. Back then, it was always me, Ernie, my nigga Steve, my nigga Jim, and my nigga Dre. My nigga Steve got killed. I don't know, Steve ain't get killed. Steve got locked, bro. My nigga Dre and Jim, they got killed. They both got shot in the eye, too. A lot of my friends got shot in the face. I'm just saying, when I say, I look at stuff like that spiritually, like that's how spiritual forces work. Like, the devil was attacking us the same way. My boy George May got shot in the face. My boy Andre got shot in the face. My boy Jim got shot in the face before we 16. So, yeah, man. So now we the young drug dealers in the neighborhood. But man, they used to bring it to us. They'll pull up in Capri cars, the old Capri car, and they'll give it. That's how we learn how to tie cars. We'll transport, switch the stuff out, take the Capri car. Like, we knew the quicker costs and everything, cause we grew up with them. They went to Mackenzie Yeah, man, we was doing it. But the point is, bro, is that it was a slave mentality. We didn't come out of slavery like that. And what the drugs did, man, it put us in now the part of the slave mentality that now there is a part of the slave mentality that we probably that was probably inbred into us that we didn't recognize until those kind of chains was put on us. So slavery kind of prepped us to respond to drugs and in the way that we did, in the way that when that type of outlet of success was presented to us, we took it as an avenue to reveal that we do have a slave mentality mentally, in the sense that we have this sense of taking out the pain that our oppressors put us under. We have we have an inclination to take that pain out on each other. So, and the reason I broke this, the reason I'm laying this out like this, is because it was a system the way they did. They laid chains. The first chain was to control the dudes that was doing the heroin. The second chain was to make them informants. The third chain was to use those informants to put crack wherever they wanted, to wherever they wanted. They brothers mostly. For us, it was my boy. It was his brother. Like I'm gonna give it to my little brother. He got locked up. I remember he made everybody in the city like, you gotta buy weight for my brother. And I'm not saying nothing that's gonna that can carry no trouble, or that I gotta be like allegedly. Like I don't be talking no like the murder and the death that we saw. Even though I did say my boys got shot, but yeah. So yeah, man. So I just say that to say, bro, to just paint an understanding of how it's spiritual. That's why it started in New York. They just did in New York. They copied it in Detroit. So they did it in New York first. They got the Frank Lucas in New York. They got the heroin dealers. Once that worked, they came to Detroit. They went to the East Side. And they started controlling the Chambers brothers and all them niggas. And they started controlling our heroin dealers in Detroit. Then they made them heroin dealers, and then they taught them heroin dealers what crack was. But they did it through in New York. They did it through Nicky Barnes and all of them, and Frank Lucas and all of them, and they taught Richie Porter. Richie Porter and them was the young kids. Richie Porter and them was us. We was the 13-year-olds that the older dudes was giving the coke to us. They was giving it to kids, to popular kids, to street kids. We was already running around with bats and guns. We was already robbing you, taking your. We was already stealing every car in the neighborhood. So they was like, okay, give it to the popular street kids, and that's what they did. But first they gave it to the popular heroin dealers. It was always influence with the devil, bro. He don't want you to have influence unless he controls you in every aspect of anything that has to do with human growth, whether it's entertainment, even the streets, even these gangs, man. These gangs are under they got the strongest gangs under their thumb. These niggas, those are the ones that have the power to do the human trafficking and all that. I know everything, but that's because I was observing. Niggas ain't think I was stupid, because I was the idealist. I was the one that was telling people what to do, and they had the money. But we was like that. We was the Richie Porters of Detroit. I know how y'all were. We was the one that the Dapper Dan to bring Ernie and them and all of us and Ralph and everybody had the Gucci suits, and we had every car. Eddie Bowers, we had the Daytons, we had the Cadillac with the gold door knobs. I'm driving. I didn't understand till I was older. Niggas told me when I was older, like, man, he just keeping you there so you don't leave, bro. Cause you always holding him down. If y'all get pulled over with a brick, you the one that you grab it. Like when it's beef, you grab the gun. You'll do anything. You'll die for him. He know that. Like that's why he keeping you broke. I knew, man. It was older OGs. That's why what happened to G Money happened to G Money. But only say that to say, bro, that they use New York first. That's why they call it the Big Apple. Actually, it's where they test sin. That's why New York is the Big Apple. No matter what it is, bro. I don't care if it's technology. I don't care if it's chemical. If it's something that got to do with hurting people, like how Satan tricked Eve in the garden to hurt humanity through biting that apple, they do it first in New York. That's why New York is the Big Apple. All the street stuff they do in other cities, they tested in New York first to see how it destroyed the people first. And they mostly did that in the Bronx. That's why if you're from New York, if you see blacks in the Bronx, you see more crazy blacks in the Bronx walking around than you'll see in any other borough. You'd be like, yo, like it's good blacks in the Bronx, but you see a large number of dudes, people of sections in the Bronx where you like this probably the poorest section in New York. So it's like ground zero for tearing the black people down with these slavery chains. So they did in New York, they did in Detroit, man. But I don't say it to glorify it, man. I just say it to get out of it, man. And they do it in every system of entertainment. It's just all about seeing it. It's all about being aware of it. It's all about not compromising who you are for something that you don't have, you know? It's all about not compromising who you are for something that you don't have. And realize, and like, okay, let's go back to what I was saying. So now we're in a slave mentality to where we're more conditioned to think. And these are some, before I go, I only want this to be 20 minutes. I'll say some things that young black men suffer that we just don't see from my perspective, things that I've suffered, because I've been there too. I remember just like any dude look at me like I'm popping, I'm killing you, I'm shooting you, riding around like that. We used to have shootouts in the middle of the street. My little brother, I used to have him driving around. My own little brother driving around for me. Gerald, stop, shooting that nigga, chasing, have him following people. You know how many people we didn't chase? Niggas used to run from us into Dearborn because we stayed off Joy Road. So if you get into a beef with us, they knew like to run into Tireman and to try to cross Tireman in Wyoming to get away from us. Then we driving again. We driving, niggas shooting at us. My little brother, no fear. It's me though. Like he looked like me. I'm like, I'm gonna get him killed. That's why I left that city. But I just say that to say, man, I remember that thought. All them time I had that beef. Most of the time it was it was different things, bro. I just didn't like people that looked like me. It took me to really be older and to search myself and to realize that like I hated myself. Some young black men, we hate ourselves so much. Not that we hate ourselves, because we adorn ourselves, and even the deepest trauma, like small traumas, like emotional traumas, just inferiority will make you just cover yourself in chains and try to, endure it. But even deep trauma will make you cover yourselves in all type of tasks to where you're trying not to see, where you're trying to cover yourself, you're trying to see the manhood of yourself. So it's something that we're not aware of. But we do have this thing within us, like we don't hate ourselves, but we hate what we allowed to happen to us so much that we hate each other for allowing it to happen. Like we such in denial of what we allowed the system to do to us, that we hate that part, that subconscious part of ourselves that we aren't aware of, for allowing ourselves to be broken down like this. We hate that part of ourselves so much that we hate another person that look like us, like, because it reminds us. We hate the state of another person because it reminds us, especially if they don't got the swag like us, especially if you don't got the money like us, especially if you ain't covering your pain like me. Your weakness reminds me of my weakness. That's a division right there between black men. Like, and even if you do, and then it's another division. If you're doing better than me, there is a slave mentality that's inbred into us that'll kick in. Like, but it's the way they trained us. Like, that's where we get the term house niggas from. That's where they'll make us. They'll buck you. They'll make us fight till the death. They'll take certain blacks and they'll take certain one. They'll separate them and they'll treat one better and just keep them at a division to where there's constant, like, I hate this other black man because he's light skinned and he's getting treated a certain way. To where that he's a house nigga, I'm a field nigga. To where that trickled off into our society to where I don't want you doing better than me, to where we'll cater to our oppressors more than we would ourselves. Some black men are like, we go at each other all day for killing each other, but when we don't go at the system for what they do to us. We'll take a nigga whole family out for shooting your brother, but we won't do it when the system kills somebody you love. You say, okay, that was I gotta eat that. I'm a slave. That's the master. I gotta, you ain't the master beating me, but I'm the house nigga. I know he gonna feed me, Oh, the master beating him, I'll kill this house nigga before I kill the master. If I can get to this, I'll get to that house nigga before I can get to the master if I could. Because the master is really the object of my obsession because I want to be close. I mean, the house nigga is the object of my obsession because I want to be close to the master. That's how they bred us to where we take shit out on each other before we would. It's worse than we do the system. We scare the cops more than we are each other. Sorry, officer. Little nigga come on you with your gun. Nigga, fuck you. Sorry, officer. But y'all killers, right? Y'all out here killing each other. Y'all got the nerve to take a nigga life, but you scared of your life to be taken. But even in front of another nigga, you're not afraid of your life to be taken. We'll shoot it out right in front of each other. But let a cop come. Officer, my gun is under the seat, officer. Niggas choke out in front of the system because we've been trained. Like, I'll kill a house nigga before I kill a master. I'll go at my, and there's another, so that's two sides of it. It's a physical and it's a spiritual side. The physical side is there's a negative, there's a pro and a con. The con is that there's a there's just two different there's a duality to that, you know. We have an enmity towards someone that doesn't have what we have, like he's weaker than me, and the part that we aren't aware of with that type of where that type of ideal dwells is in a place of saying he reminds me of how weak I am because I've adorned myself. I've sold these drugs. I've sold my soul to get this money and this music. Most people that compromise to get what they want feel like that. Now, if you hustle to get what you want, and if you really gave your blood and tears, and if you earn what you want, you're not gonna have any enmity toward someone else that doesn't have what you have, or you're not gonna look at them weaker because you understand the process of you came from where they came from, and you never tried to decorate yourself in anything but the success you've garnered through that journey. You don't, you know, that's why people that get it out the mud don't really have that gripe towards people, but someone that has to sell their soul to get it, or someone that's selling drugs to get it, you automatically look at someone that doesn't have it as weaker because it reminds you of what you had to do to get it. So you blind yourself from what you had to do to get it, and it just makes it just makes you feel better. Like, I mean, I remember I used to look at regular people like, man, they regular people, like they weak as hell. They regular people. Now I'm a regular person, and I hate the person I used to be. I'm looking at the person I used to be like, man, they destroying their people. They destroying us. So as a drug dealer, I was looking at you weak, blinded to the fact that I'm actually destroying my own. I'm weakening my own society while I'm judging it at the same time. Even if you sell your soul, if you most rappers that rap that type of drug talk that's compromised to where their music destroys the youth, those are the ones that train the youth to look at people that don't have what they have as weak people because of what they got to do to get what they got. And that's what the street do. That's what the rappers do. And then you got these rappers that's not even who they saying they are. Some of them are psychopaths, real killers out here that's looking at you weak because of what they had to do to get what they got. They can't allow themselves to look at you as a normal person because it's going to remind them of what they had to do to not be you. So they got to look at you as weak, to not look at themselves as being a sick individual. But then our kids come at, and to us, the only line that we draw is that this is cool and this is not cool. It don't got nothing to do with his psychology. It don't got nothing to do with. So we kind of train psychopaths. We teaching our kids, like you could teach a kid can come out the womb and never play football. He'll never be a football player. So we allowing these kids to get under these rappers, and even though they never would have became a psychopath, we teaching them to think psychopathically. To teaching them like the only onus that draws a line between whether I care from you or not is what you have and what you don't have. I'm going too deep, ain't I? Chill, N.O.vate, chill. Let me let y'all get out of here, man. I ain't mean to rap, bro. It's a story time with N.O.vate. I got some more story times. I got to write for my battle. Thanks to the new subs. Check out the rest of the channel, man. I talk about life. I talk a lot of spiritual stuff on my channel. If you like chess, I teach chess. N.O.vate out. Peace.